Hi, this is Damien, Marie AtHope, and I am an Axiological Atheist, and I'm here with the guest. Could you go ahead and tell us your name and what kind of atheist you are?
I'm Tara Mowery, and I'm an Axiological Atheist.
Right on. So were you raised in religion or were you raised as an atheist?
Well, I was raised in an abusive, really didn't go to church. The only time I went to church was with my grandparents. And that was maybe 2 to 3 weekends a month. And even then, we went downstairs and colored, so church was gone to color for me.
Okay. So it wasn't really a big issue.
No, religion was not a big issue at all.
So is that the way that your entire family or just your immediate family is not religious or very religious?
Well, any of my aunts and uncles go to church. Well, my one aunt, but we're not really religious people.
Okay. So do you think that made atheism an easier conclusion for you?
Well, yeah, it took me a long time to accept the fact that there's not a higher power.
Okay.
I was abused bad. I was locked in a basement, hung up by my throat constantly. My mom's boyfriend would always beat me, and he locked the door shut whenever he'd go to work, and he would, lock the door from the outside. He'd nail the windows shut, and he took the phone to work with him.
Right.
And being like 7 or 8, it was, please God, help me. And
right.
the fact that I was feeling like that and,
right.
No one was helping, it's like, why?
Yeah, where's God? Where's God helping a child being hurt? Yeah.
And I was sexually abused, physically abused, and emotionally abused. My mom used to tell me I was fat all the time.
Yeah, really sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting when supposedly moral people do immoral acts, and then they claim that there's a loving God that doesn't also seem to care if immoral acts are happening. So I really appreciate you telling us that. So do you think that when it was happening to you that made you think that more that there wasn't a real God helping you, like you said, a higher power?
Well, I would pray, and I didn't really know how to pray. It was just, please, 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 please have me any way you can, please. And it was just nothing. I'd sit in the basement, a dark, damp basement alone, hungry. I'd fill up my mom's washer to get a drink. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, like, why? Where's God? Why am I right here right now?
Yeah, it's a pretty sad thing. I've been there too, thinking, where's God? How can there be someone that doesn't allow this to happen, doesn't care? I think another thing that you said is interesting too. The fact that, like you said, you didn't know how to pray, as if there's some kind of way that you need to properly plead for a supposedly loving, ethical being to care for innocents that are being harmed. What right way would you need really to be? I mean, why would you even need to actually, like you were saying, I mean, really, why even need to pray at all? Supposedly the being can see everything, it's just crazy. And, I really think that, what it does is there's a possibility, because I know of some for myself. I thought maybe I wasn't worth it. That maybe a God can see, but what he sees is that I don't matter.
Well, my dad passed away when I was 3. He was in a drunken driver accident. And everybody told me he was in heaven. And I thought, why isn't he helping me?
And how did that feel? Did you feel like rejected because he didn't help?
Yeah, I felt like maybe my dad just didn't love me. Like, I didn't know him. I just knew that I was in that situation and no one was helping me.
That's a pretty sad place to be, especially as a child. And
My mom
go ahead.
My mom was pregnant with my brother, and I remember him punching her in the stomach. And then I would, like, scream and try to help her, and he would just, like, throw me into the wall. You have no idea how badly I wish God would have intervened.
Yeah. No, I remember things like that in my childhood, seeing my parents fight and stuff, and the abuse that happened to me. Yeah, I wish there was a God that cared, but there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that if there's a God, okay, then we all can agree he doesn't care.
Yep, exactly.
So it's like.
When I was in, like, middle school and high school, I thought about it a lot.
And what did you think exactly? Do you remember?
Well, I would remember some of the stories at church, Noah and the ark, and that was one I always thought about. Like, how is that even possible? And then I didn't know any of the Bible stories at all. All I knew was, like, Noah's Ark and Adam and Eve.
Right.
And it was just amazing that any of that could be real. It was like a fairy tale. Like, really?
Yeah, it's ludicrous. I mean, it's defies even the imagination. And like that, speaking of Noah's Ark, to me, one of the simplest things in Noah's Ark we know is not true. Even if everything happened the way they said, which is still not true, but just think. So everything is dead. All the waters have been almost a year, rotten and decaying, everything alive. So there's no plants alive either. Then you have all these animals coming off the boat. At least, a good portion of them are predators, right? I mean, tigers, and there's a lot of animals that eat other animals. They're not even plant eaters. So even if somehow the plant eaters could eat the slime or whatever, decayed matter, which is ridiculous, but even if they could or somehow survive, that's nothing to tell you about how the predators survived. They would have to eat things. The moment they ate something, the one of the two animals would then be extinct.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we're all inbred, really?
Yeah.
And I asked grandmother who made God, and she told me that some things you just shouldn't ask.
Some things you shouldn't ask. That's a great explanation. Don't ask things, and that's the way to knowledge.
Exactly.
Could you imagine scientists promoting that? Yes, we would like to now show our new discovery that we got to by not asking questions.
Yeah. My brother, actually, he's 21, and he just started asking me questions. I just recently came out as an atheist.
How long ago?
Because my 4-year-old is going to be going to school next year.
Okay.
And I thought, he's at the age where he's going to start asking me questions. And what do I tell him? So I started Googling everything about God. And, I sort of felt like there wasn't a God, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Okay.
And as I'm searching for questions to, tell kids about God as a parent that doesn't truly 100% believe in a God.
Right.
And atheist experience. And Matt Dillahunty is the reason I'm proud to be an atheist.
Right on. That's good. He's a good person. I've talked to him before.
I would listen to the atheist the shows all day long, and I just thought about it, and my son actually just recently asked me what God was the other day, and I said, well, it's a magical being in the sky that people think created everything, knows everything, and he looked at me and he says, Mommy, that's ridiculous.
Good, it is ridiculous. Yeah.
I was like, you really think that? And he just said, yeah. So.
That's good.
He's 4.
Intelligent at a young age.
Yeah, well, his dad is a scientist, and I went to school for nursing.
Right on.
And we feel like we need to teach him how to think, not what to think.
So do you think you're doing atheist parenting or secular parenting, or do you have a different definition?
I would say I am 100% atheist.
Well, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your parenting style. In other words, like a parent, I consider there's secular and there's atheist parenting. Atheist parenting basically says to the kid, gods are not true. This is why I think so. And this is the evidence. And says, here's some other ideas, what people think of religion. Kind of like we said, they think these weird things. But it's talking a secular parent to me, it doesn't really get into much about what I believe. They just have more as, well, what do you believe? Well, that's interesting. And, here's all these different people that believe different things. Go ahead and look at them and see what you believe.
Well, I introduced all the gods to him. Like, I told him about Zeus and everything. Just all the mythological gods.
Right.
And I told him Noah's Ark, the story, like, as an actual story. And he couldn't even let me finish because he's just like, it was too ridiculous for him.
At 4 years old? That's amazing.
He wasn't interested in it at all. He was like not even a good fairy tale.
Were you proud? I would be proud.
Oh, I am very proud. Very, very proud.
That's cool as hell. Yeah, it makes me think that if I wouldn't have been indoctrinated so hard like I was, I don't think that I would have been able to believe for as long as I did.
Well, see, I have a sister-in-law. My husband's 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
And he has an older sister.
Yeah.
And she just converted to Catholicism 3 years ago.
Huh. For like a marriage or something?
No, she's single, childless, single.
Huh.
She's a follower. She can't be herself. She has to be what she thinks people want her to be. And all her friends are Catholic, and they would all go to Mass without her, and she just felt left out.
I see.
Good.
Yeah. Religion's good at alienating people.
Well, see, since I came out as an atheist, I decided it'd be a good idea to read the Bible. And I have read the Bible, and I've taken notes of every
horrid thing it talks about.
And I let this out in the open.
Yeah.
For everyone to see. And because it looks studied, and I have studied it cover to cover, and I'm even on a second one. And she's seen it. And I didn't even approach religion with her at all. And just randomly out of the blue, she says, well, I'm not going to chorus anymore. I'm studying. And I'm like, I'm thinking, you haven't read the Bible. You're Catholic and have not read the Bible. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, I think that they don't really require you to. I mean, some people do. I when I was a Christian, I read the King James and the NIV because you're live.
Okay. Well, the first Bible I read is the Living Bible, and I don't really know the difference between that Bible and the Holy Bible. So
Well, Holy Bible is a title. There's no specific Holy Bible. Just so because when you said that, just so you know that's just a label. That's like saying the Holy Quran as opposed to the Quran. It's just the Quran. They're just saying it's some magical thing. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like saying Jesus Christ, they could just say the name is Jesus. Christ is a title. It's not just so you know, there's no difference between, a Living Bible is just a translation of the Holy Bible. It's a certain type of translation. See what I'm saying? Yeah.
That one I actually conned out of Mormons.
Yeah.
They knocked on my door, and I didn't tell them I was an atheist, but I'm studying the Bible right now, and I would like a Bible. And they're like, "We'll get you one." And they were like, "Do you need help to study it?" And I was like, I kind of want to do it on my own.
Right.
I never heard from them since, and I got a Bible, free Bible.
Yeah, I had a Bible and I threw it in the garbage. Well, it was symbolic for me, It was about a year of being an atheist, and because I had one that was like expensive. It was like onion pages and gold leafed and leather and it was real expensive. I wanted to see it as what it was, which is just a worthless myth that I wouldn't care about. So I just threw it in the garbage. If I need stuff for the Bible now, I just get it off a line. But I think it's cool that you're studying it. That's cool.
Well, I don't know. I want to understand their thinking. Like, to me, I don't understand how you can think that there's a God. Like, how? There's all those starving children. There's all the abuse in the world. Cancer. How?
It doesn't make sense. Even if they say, like, well, what's also funny too is how they defend the how is usually not the Bible. They try to go to other ideas, philosophy, whatever, to try to do that, answer that, because the Bible doesn't really give answers. It just says, this happened, believe it. This supposedly claim happened, believe it. It doesn't do a lot of trying to actually persuade you. It's not a persuasion book, you know what I'm saying? It's basically just a dogma book. It's just this, do this, do that. God is loving. If you don't, you'll get tortured. I mean, if you don't believe, I'll kill you. I mean, it's not like you're saying, like reason. They don't like, oh well, because of this, No.
Well, I found that they like to cherry pick.
Oh, of course.
And they somehow twist something horrible to be something so good.
Totally agree.
And I want to know, like, I pretty much want to beat them with their own knowledge.
And that's
like, I don't know, I feel like I want to debate, but I want to do good at the same time. Like, I think God needs to be out of the schools, out of our government. And the fact that my son is going to start going to kindergarten, he's going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, say one nation under God, kills me.
Yeah. I know those things shouldn't be there. How can we say that we have, a secular government and then we allow religion all over the place? I mean, but that's why, like, even the other day I went down and helped put a gay pride festivus pole out on the Capitol lawn, along with yeah. You didn't see the pictures?
Well, I seen pictures. Well, I always see pictures of you. I don't know. I can't remember them all.
You're like, oh, stupid Damien doing stuff again.
No, like, you are awesome. Like, I love you.
Oh, thank you.
And I love your work, and I really, really, really wish that I could be a part of it.
Well, I wish a lot of people would be a part of it. And I know a lot of people have the problem, I think, is religion scares us too much. Media, everything. It's not really that scary to go out and do things. I mean, it's scary in the fact that you don't know, but people aren't really that threatening. You have to understand that a lot of these people think that we're the stupid ones. I mean, I know it's ridiculous, but so they're usually not that angry. They're more like think they're going to come up and talk to a fool because of course there's a God. So a lot of them are seriously arrogant, or they're asking questions like they want to know, hey, what are you about? And some people are atheists and actually support you. But
before the Mormons knock on my door, I had some other guy that was going door to door, and he came to the door and he says, "When you die, where do you think you're going to go?"
Uh-huh.
And my answer was, well, in the ground.
Right.
And he says, no, he says, like, when you die, where are you going to go spiritually? And I said, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any of that. And he says, well, you'll find out when you die and you meet your judge or something. And he started telling me, he's like, do you know about the story of, what was it? Samson and Delilah?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what you're trying to say. It's never too late to be humble. And he shut up and walked away.
But it's ridiculous anyways, because, I mean, how do they know they have the right God, even if they think there is a God? And what kind of God would judge you upon death? I mean, just think of it. How would you treat your child when they're alive or dead? Even when a child dies, right? In a sense, you still mourn them. You still kind of, have feelings and care about them. I mean, the fact that some being is waiting for you to die to then judge you is just ludicrous.
Well, I managed to turn my cousin into an atheist. A proud atheist, too. Even, she won't tell anybody, though. She's in the closet.
Yeah. Is that for her own safety or just because she's nervous?
I think the fact that being an atheist is so taboo. It's, oh, you don't believe in God.
Yeah.
It's that kind of reaction that you don't want. You don't want people treating you differently.
Where does she live? Like what state? I'm just, she lives in the same state as you?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. And where are you at again?
Mm-hmm. I am right next door to Penn State College.
Oh, you're in Pennsylvania also?
Oh, yeah.
So do you feel that Pennsylvania, because it's a northern state, do you feel it's less of the Bible Belt?
No, we have a lot of Amish, and
right.
We don't have as many churches as what I heard is down south.
So but the Amish kind of stick to themselves, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know, like, people aren't knocking door to door. I had a few, but it's not a regular thing. And people aren't, like, pushing you to go to church here. Most don't. But they still believe in God. And none of them has read the Bible. And I just don't understand how you can believe in the God, but you disregard the Bible. Don't they go hand in hand?
Yeah.
Since I came out as an atheist, that was like May, my sister-in-law has treated me so different. And it's like she's trying to prove a point to me. We went out to eat the other day, and I've ate with her so many times, like hundreds of times, and I've never once seen her pray before. And this time, for some reason, like 100 times, like she was making a point.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I know my mom, how I came out as an atheist to her was because she brought up praying. Let me pray for you, and I was like, no, that's okay. And she's like, why are you angry at God? Like, well, not angry at God. I don't believe in one, so.
That's what people think it is for me. They think because of my childhood, that's the reason I don't think there's a God. And it kind of is it, but I think it's a common sense thing.
Yeah, well, you're explaining that your rational evaluation of your experience leads you to the conclusion that there cannot be a God. Certainly not a loving and caring one. Same with me. That's not, like you're saying, it's not because you're angry at a God you think exists that was unfair to you. You said that's what they think.
Since I had my son, I thought, people around here don't care about religion. They don't want to talk about religion. And me, I do. And I think I drive people nuts. But I thought, we got to talk about it because it's the only way we're going to resolve things. It's the only way we're going to change things.
I totally agree. That's why I do it all the time. And I think also the problem is, like, let's say that we don't resolve things. What does that mean? What does it mean if we don't change things? So what are we trying to change? Well, I think that they try to make that we're trying to make people not believe in God. Well, actually,
that's it.
What's that?
That's not it. I don't care
what
yeah. People believe.
Right, yeah. Exactly. What we care is what those beliefs produce.
Yes, my son. I want to protect my son from it.
Yes, exactly. Because
I want the world for my baby.
Because there's a cause and effect for beliefs. The beliefs do have an effect. It's like I believe that women are equal. So because I have that belief, I treat women equally. I mean, it's what you think does affect, what you believe does affect how you behave.
Well, reading the Bible and knowing exactly what it says makes me curious. Like, I kind of want to go to church because I want to see how they're making those horrible stories good.
Because they twist everything to a positive light. So in other words, like they'll say Noah's Ark is a show of God's, care because he made a rainbow and said he'll never do it again. And if you were to ask, well, never do what again? You mean kill the whole earth? You mean that loving thing? And then he killed supposedly because they displeased him?
See, in 2008, I was in a really bad motorcycle accident. I was thrown off the back of a motorcycle, and I was life-flighted to the biggest hospital in Pennsylvania.
All right.
I died, I guess, 3 times on the way there. And I'm considered not handicapped.
Disabled?
Yes. They consider me disabled because I live with chronic pain. My back was shattered, my clavicle and scapula were broken. I was a mess. I was a mess. And everybody told me, God saved me because we must need more nurses. Because it was the day after I graduated nursing school.
Yeah, God want more nurses. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're like, he saved you because obviously we need more nurses. And I can't even work as a nurse because I can't work.
Yeah, that's a stupid statement. So if God didn't save you, then God feels there's enough nurses right now. So you just lucked out that there wasn't an overproduction of nurses.
I actually just got in an argument with my mother the other day about that. And she's like, well, God saved you. And I said, no, doctors saved me. And she kept shaking her head, no, God did it. No, God did it.
But it's funny how they'll attribute anything that they want to God, and anything they don't like, well then that God didn't do that. That's just free will, or that's just nature. Yeah, tornadoes that killed everybody. Oh yeah, that's things just happen.
And my mom was upset that I got an atheist tattoo.
Oh, you got an atheist tattoo? Where'd you get it? It says atheist? I can't hardly see it.
Yes, it's an ambigram.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, your picture doesn't stay that clear, but yeah, I see it now. Yeah, I have ones on my wrists. On both of them. See mine?
I have my son on my other wrist.
That's cool.
But I'm so passionate about being an atheist, and I didn't want to get this same tattoo that everybody else had, the A.
Yeah.
I wanted something different.
Oh, that's cool.
And I saw that. The meme that goes to that says, "You can turn me upside down, I'll still be an atheist."
Right.
I love it.
That's cool.
Because you can read it ways.
Right. So what made you, do you think, passionate as an atheist?
It was my son.
Your son?
It was my son. Like, I don't want my son growing up in this corrupt world. Like, I want to change it. And anybody that has a child that doesn't just blows my mind.
So how would you plead to a mother that's, not an atheist, and how you feel that's important for her child?
So that's actually how I got into it with my cousin. She actually has a 15-month-old. And she was there when I first started reading the Bible, and I was telling her about the stories, and she just shrugs her shoulders and says, I don't care about religion. I don't need to go to church. But I don't think people understand that religion rules us. Like, people don't understand how much religion is in our life. I didn't even know until I started looking at things and researching and reading everything. It's just amazing how it controls us.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know how to get other people to understand. I try to talk to everybody, and, I explain why I'm an atheist, and I guess the first thing, tell them that I don't eat babies. Or worship Satan.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that I even had a family member, a cousin of mine, said, "Oh, you're not a Satanist?" I'm like, "No, I'm an atheist." I thought that was kind of the same thing. Like, no, it's not at all.
No, the difference between us and them is they believe in the devil and we don't.
Well, even the ones that don't believe in the devil, because there's Satanists that don't believe in devil. They believe in it like a esoteric type of knowledge or something. But anyways, but it's not atheist. So we're not. There are some people that may be atheists and Satanists, but I mean most atheists are not Satanists.
Mm-hmm.
So. But I think the reason they try to say that is, once again, they're trying to say we're angry at God, or we acknowledge God's real, and we're just fighting against a real God. No, God's not real. Either is your devil, or your heaven, or your hell.
Sometimes I wonder if people just believe it because that's what they're told to believe, and they're too lazy to actually go out and see for themselves.
That is true. Or too fearful to look for themselves, as you said about your, I think you said your sister,
My sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, yeah. So, sometimes you're in an environment that it's not safe. I mean, there's countries where if you say you're an atheist, you can be killed. And there's certainly some families that are so, ridiculous, they would shun you, or maybe, make it so where places where maybe you couldn't work if you were an atheist. Because there's still places, even in America, where, you probably would have a hard time getting a job in certain fields if you said you're an atheist.
Oh, yeah. Like, I seen that people would least likely vote for an atheist president than they would for, like, a Muslim president.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, really? Like, it's supposed to be separation of church and state. Like, why does religion even matter when you want to be a president?
Well, there's no religious test, so in a sense it doesn't matter as far as the Constitution's concerned. But I do agree with you to act like it doesn't matter to the American people or America, what it seems like. Yeah, you really couldn't say you're an atheist and practically, get support. It would be an issue. But I think it's because people also place morality with atheism. Somehow they think that a person who's an atheist has no moral grounds for morality, which is ridiculous. I mean, if they understood in general that true morality involves what's called moral reasoning, the ability to analyze things, well, that means you're involved. You can't have a God reason it for you. Mm-hmm. You have to reason through your mind how to do something what's right. So it's a stupid, because what they do is they follow laws. Not that they're moral, they just follow them because they're told to. Mm-hmm. That's like saying, well, people shouldn't, like back when they had segregation. People shouldn't, use the same water faucet, that are black if it says for whites only. Well, just because there's a law doesn't make it moral or just or correct, So the fact that a God says something like, don't eat shrimp, it's an abomination, that means nothing in the real world. It's not a moral law.
Well, my sister-in-law, that was something that she was so proud of. Lent. Oh my gosh. When Lent came around, everybody knew. She just talked about what she was gonna, I don't know, I don't even know the rules for that or why. What she was gonna, not do or something.
Yeah, I'm not real up on Catholic stuff. I was raised in fundamentalist Christian, Protestant. So I'm not real familiar. I think they don't eat meat or only eat fish or something. I don't know.
And you know what? My sister-in-law is a science teacher.
That's pretty. Yeah, I'm a science teacher who's real religious, right? Is she a young Earth creationist?
I don't know. I've never really discussed version with her, but I wanted to know. I really do. I'm curious to just traders.
Because that is, it's insane. It's crazy to think about a God possibility. It is pretty insane, though, to me, and completely devoid of any credibility to say that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. It's just absolutely ridiculous on every level possible.
She's the type of person that she always needs to one-up. Always. And everything I do, she wants to one-up me. Mm. And I talk about Carl Sagan all the time, and that pisses her off. And I don't know if maybe it's because she's a science teacher. I shouldn't be talking about science.
So she gets mad because you talk about Carl Sagan? You'd think someone who likes science would like to talk about science.
Well, I think, honestly, I don't know. I don't understand her. Something's not right. I don't understand how you can be a science teacher and be a Roman Catholic at the same time. But then again, I guess teaching 6th graders science isn't too far up the science ladder.
Well, but some Catholics mangle, the two together, try to fit science and religion. They'll say, oh yeah, we believe in evolution. Okay, so then there's some part of the Bible you don't agree with. That's what we should say.
Well, doesn't the Pope have something to do with science? Wasn't he a major in science or something?
Don't know that. I don't know that much about Catholicism. You start talking about. I don't know about the Pope. I know that or I've heard. I don't know for sure, but I know that I've heard it said that he said something about that he supports evolution is true, but God started it or something like that.
Well, how can evolution be true and the Bible be true at the same time?
It can't. I agree with you. It obviously cannot. That's what I'm saying. The moment that you say evolution is true, you're admitting that some part of the Bible cannot be true. That's what you're admitting.
Because you need Adam and Eve for that original sin.
Well, in Adam and Eve, as far as if you trace the genealogy of how the Bible explains their heroes, you couldn't get past 10,000 years. But we know that the first people, humans, come from Southeast Africa at about 200,000 years ago. So, yeah, there's no Adam at that time.
I always tell people that Jesus is a story because there was the same stories predating him, like Horus, Mithra, Dionysus, and it has to be like adopted from those.
Well, I don't think it has to, that any of those have to be, but I do, because I'm not a mythicist. I'm not a person who believes that the myths are the most important thing. I think it does say something that these things were borrowed, but I don't think it's a direct thing across. I mean, sometimes it was, like, the myths of, say, Greece were adopted by Rome. Some of the gods and goddesses, they just changed the name and then the same person. I mean, but they used it in different ways. I don't think that Jesus is 100% true. In fact, it could be totally false. I'm just saying I don't know that it was invented out of a copying of myths. To me, it doesn't seem to be that clear of a. I've heard people say this argument, but I think that it's more saying, look at all these similarities. It just shows that it's the same kind. It's not special. The idea presented is not like special. There's other.
It's not like the exact story. They put in their own stuff, but it's still along the same line. It's the same idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that even if someone were to say that there actually was a real person, I do agree with people that they say that person was mythicized. In other words, that attributes, like say, like I do atheist activism. If you were to say, oh, well, when I do it, I converted, 1,000 Christians or something, if you told, I'm not saying I did that. I'm saying if you told that, you're adding myth. I'm just explaining. You're adding myth to what I'm actually doing. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I
know the tail gets taller on down the line.
It's what now?
The tail gets taller on down the line.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I do think that, because to me it really doesn't matter. I'm not one of the atheists that really cares that much if Jesus was a real person. It doesn't matter.
Well, there's no evidence.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, could there? But why argue about it? Really? Could there have been a man? Sure. Could a man die on a cross? Yeah. They did all the time. Could a person tell people that he was the Messiah? Yeah, there was a couple of them.
Could he have been like Charles Manson?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, maybe he was one that like schizophrenia and like heard voices in his head and really thought.
Could have, exactly. And that is a more reasonable explanation than magic, which we have no evidence of ever at any time, in any science, in any way, in any country, ever. So I mean, that's to me. I always tell people it doesn't matter. I won't even argue about like the horicity, because all you're doing is trying to say, even if we can say there was a real person, that doesn't make him God. That doesn't make magic real. That doesn't mean that magic happened. I mean, so it's for me. I'm just saying, for me, I like. So what? I agree with you, though. There's no real credible evidence that anyone existed named Jesus.
I always thought they didn't know about mental illness back then.
True.
Maybe people actually did have voices, and
I
honestly
agree.
believed the thought.
Oh, I'm sure there was people like that. It's not even maybe. There was people like that, because there's still people like that. And there's often more mental health issues the more that a person's well-being is threatened. And certainly living at a time like that, when they don't really have health care, there's no, protection. People rob and rape and pillage and do all kinds of things. The government is oppressive as hell, taking money, taking your stuff, It would be a very, you have to work super hard to get nothing. It would be a very hard existence. I'm sure a lot of people had. And just think of all the people you saw murdered in front of you, or raped or tortured or whatever. Your psyche would kind of be all the fighting and violence. I mean, they've murdered people in front of people. You know what I'm saying? They tortured people in the streets. They would, for punishment like the Romans, they would have everyone gather around and watch people be tortured. You can't do that and not have some kind of a psychological issues. I mean, look at people today. They get PTSD and stuff. That's not something new that we've invented. So yeah, definitely. There was all kinds of people with issues back then.
But it's like they just sit down and make up these stories. Like, it doesn't make sense. And it's like people that didn't understand how the world worked, anything about life, sat down and decided to make up a story.
Yeah, well, and I've heard some people say that the Romans took it over to control the poor people and to stop revolt against the government. I think that could have been true. I think that, even if there would have been a person that was real, they could have, like you said, made up the myth, or someone else made up the myth, because I know there's a letter that was written about to the emperor about how they wanted to kill Christians. So they were anti-Christian before they were Christian. I mean, we already know they fed people to the lions. But I do think, like you said, so I think someone could have made up the idea. The idea starts to stick a little bit. And then Rome could say, oh, look at this idea. This is pretty great. If we could take this would get all the poor people to basically, not fight back.
Control the masses.
Yeah, control the masses. So I think that it's all right when people say, is God's, Jesus is a myth. I go, yeah, I can see that. Not always directly to what, like, I don't think, like you're saying, I don't think someone sat down and go, I'm going to write this whole myth out and it's going to be, I think it was like piecemeals. What's that?
There was different authors.
Yeah, there's different authors. The whole book.
Yeah.
Yeah. They claim 66 authors, but I bet there's more than that.
Like the Exodus. Being in the desert for 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. 40 years without food, supposedly eating bird shit or whatever they were eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, manna from heaven.
Manna. Mhm. Well, I seen somewhere where there was like manna was like bug slime or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous though. Still, who can survive off of that? It's just stupid. Like you said, and why would you need to be out there in the desert? What I always think is interesting too is at the time that supposed exit had happened, Palestine was considered to be like like Puerto Rico or something to America. They were still relatively in control of it. It's not like when they after 40 years when they went there that there was no Egyptians. Egyptians were in that area. They were mining in that area, for copper and stuff. I mean, they were doing stuff there. There wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It's like they act like they left the Egyptians and then they went to this land where there's no Egyptians. Like, no, that's like not that far. I mean,
and then they had to kill all the newborns. Or the firstborns or whatever. Like, that's horrific good.
Yeah, well, and it's not documented. Like one thing about Romans is that when they did stuff or asked for stuff to be done, they would talk about it. They talked about people they killed. They talked about people they, tortured. If they did something like that and asked for, like this says too, like, that Rome wanted to have a census, of how many people were living somewhere. They did do censuses. Wasn't a special thing. What they did not do was ask people to go back to their place of birth, because that's ridiculous. Because the reason for a consensus was to get taxes. You want to tax people on what they own. So if someone goes back to where they live, how can you know what they own? You know what I'm saying? If you went back to see your mom, how would they know what house you have?
But like when they take census in the Bible, the numbers are outrageous.
Oh, but you mean in the Bible? Yeah. Well, there's one I talked about once with my brother. There's this one census that supposedly is done about the Jews, and I go, it's so funny how it did 12 different tribes, and every single one of them ends in a 0 or a 5, all even numbers. Come on. Every time it's like that, it's just so obviously fake. You couldn't possibly come up with numbers like that.
Yeah, and then it said once in the Bible that God was pissed off because they did a census.
Yeah. And he killed people because of it. I think he gave them a sickness.
I feel like he killed people just to kill people.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, going off your thing, you're loving God because you took a census and it made him mad. It's mad enough to kill people. And you think this is a moral God? What the?
Do you think maybe there was like earthquakes or volcanoes? And
yes.
They didn't understand science, so.
Oh, totally. Yes. In fact, there's a website and a book. I think it's called Oh My Volcano or something, or something, or Oh My God Volcano or something. Anyways, it explains that this person is trying to say that the God in the Bible is a volcano. I think that he's right, that some parts, like you were saying, a misunderstanding of science. I don't think every time God's talked about, it's a volcano. But I guarantee that the points that he's bringing up, this person has this thing. I'll send it to you. The points that he brings up, when you read the verse, it sure as hell sounds like a volcano. When you understand the thinking. What's that?
You think like maybe they had like earthquakes and they're like, all right, who pissed off God?
Yes, I do. Yes. Definitely. When plagues, famine, oh, that's God angry. Oh, thunder in the sky, oh, that's God. Yeah, definitely.
Like natural disasters, like they attributed to God.
Yes, they did. Yes.
That must have been God.
But Christians try to get out of that because there was a dam or something that broke when Jesus was around, and they said, "Oh well, this is God punishing them," and Jesus is like, "Oh no, don't think that every time something happens, it's God." Oh, when did that happen?
Well, Moses, when he went up to get the 10 Commandments, sounds an awful lot like he was near a volcano.
It does, definitely. And I think it's funny too is if you listen to the story, it says he was there for 40 days to make the tablets. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like God? Can you imagine the laser printer taking 40 days?
Yeah, and well, doesn't he come down and like break them, and then he goes up and like gets
another 40 days?
Like a day.
No, he has to go up there. It takes him another 40 days to make them again, and he comes back down. Well, so supposedly God's making them, because God takes 40 days to write little tablets. Yeah, our laser printers can do better than that.
And what really pisses me off is them showing the Bible movies on the History Channel.
It's extremely disturbing what is on the History Channel. Like even Ancient Aliens is some more nonsense bullshit. I mean, yeah, it's not just all funny, or even Finding Bigfoot, this show. I think that might be on the Animal Planet. I'm not sure, but it's that kind of like just nonsense. Like, oh yeah, we know there's Bigfoots. Really? Show me one.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch. Oh, sorry. Yeah, because I didn't. Not about you, but I'm saying, yeah, you're right. Or abominable snowman, because somehow, if they're white, that's different. But yeah, the whole thing. It's like people, like you said earlier, people like to make up stories. That really is a problem, I think, with humans. And then we like believing the bullshit that we come up with.
That's exactly it. And conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Conspiracy theories is what I call religion. Religion is a conspiracy theory of reality.
Like, my mom's trying to tell me that the Holocaust is going to happen. Like, they're going to put us in concentration camps and kill us all.
Kill who all? What, all atheists?
Oh, everybody. I don't know. She listens to some guy on YouTube, and she, like, thinks everything he says is true. And he's, like, a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that kind of mentality is harmful in the long run. Because some things are true that need to have real solutions. And if you're fighting and boxing ghosts, which I mean by nothing, fighting the air or shadows against the wall, you're not. What's that?
The ghost thing.
Yeah.
That made me insane. And like everybody, like thinks ghosts are real.
And a lot of atheists think ghosts are real, but I tell them, that I used to think that because I wasn't sure when I was a new atheist. I used to think that, but later on I realized it's not true. Also, I went to a haunted house, right? When I was living in Savannah, Georgia. I went to a haunted house in Savannah, Georgia. Supposedly, it's on the ghost channels and all this. I went to it, paid for it, paid to go there, and at night, it was supposedly for Halloween, and there's going to be ghosts. And they're like, oh, whatever you do, make sure you don't disrespect the ghosts so that they get mad. So you know what I did? I did that exact thing. Disrespected them, called them names, cursed at them, said all kind of vile stuff. You know what happened? Nothing. That is what happened. That's when at the time I wasn't sure. I was thinking, maybe, but I thought, well, this is what I thought. Even if they are real, they don't interact with our world, obviously, because otherwise we would have proof of that. So there's nothing to worry about. So even if you were to see them in a sense.
The ghost shows where they hear voices on that thing that they record. Like, it up and slow it down, make anything sound like anything.
Yeah, and all those shows to me too are just TV. The stuff they say is just TV. The stuff they show, it's just fake. I mean, there's been ones that have been exposed as frauds, and just like mediums. Teresa Caputa, that chick is the Long Island media. What's even crazy about her is she admits that someone taught her how to do that. She's like, oh, I used to not be a... What's that?
Cold reading.
Yeah, she's a cold reader. Someone taught her cold reading, and she almost admits that when she says, oh, yeah, I had depression, and I never saw ghosts. Then I went to this medium and spiritualist, and she taught me, how to, help people and see ghosts. It's like, no. She taught you cold reading is what she taught you. I agree. It's ridiculous. People want to believe nonsense.
Yeah, like, and palm readers, and I just... Ooh.
Yeah, because some...
Horse.
Well, just think. To say that your palm is talking about something would mean that something at your birth, when you're being formed, or in the process, knows about you and then tells about you on your body. What the ridiculous nonsense is that?
Well, when Sylvia Brown was alive,
yeah,
you remember the Morpovich show? She told Amanda Berry's mother that she was dead, and then by the time Amanda Berry was found, she couldn't. Her mother died before she was found, and her mother died and her daughter was dead.
Yeah.
I think it's wrong.
It is wrong. Well, I think that if they want to say that they're professional mediums, then they have to prove it. There has to be a test. If you can prove it, fine. But if you're not, we're going to arrest you for fraud. But really, to me, this almost could go with religion. I mean, when you say you can heal people and you cannot, mm-hmm. and you're asking people for money, then I should be able to.
And you see them, and then you feel better after you've seen them. It's like, that's all in your head.
I believe that they're doing fraud, like those TV evangelists where they put their hands out and everybody falls. You know, it's just fraud. Mm-hmm. It's fraud. I mean, I don't even know what other. They're calling it religion also. Okay, it's religious fraud. Okay.
Well, James Rand put out Sylvia Brown, and made a bet that I'll pay you $1 million if you can prove to me that you can talk to the dead. And she says, well, I'm not going to do it because he's not a godly man.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it's like there was a show, I don't know if you've seen it. I watched it a long time ago, but it was the Psychic Challenge or something like that, world's best psychic. And they had all these people, mm-hmm. and they did this show. Well, anyways, the person, I can't remember her name is, Alicia White Dove or something. Anyways, obviously not her real name, but or her name that she's created. But so she supposedly won. So she's the best of the psychics, right? And yeah, I use it in my book about her. I say, okay, so she's the best. So she's the best they have to offer, right? Obviously she won. It tested and everything. She passed the test. Let's look at some of the things she says. So she wrote what she thinks of the future. But this is before Barack Obama got to be president, when Hillary and Barack Obama were going at it to be fighting to be president, to be the whatever incumbent. She said that Hillary was going to win. Well, obviously that's wrong. Then she said that, and I like this, she said, if Barack Obama were to win, that he will be executed by right-wing extremists that are racist or whatever, within his, I think she said, before his first year is up or some nonsense. I can't remember now. Well, obviously that's wrong too. So she's wrong on both things. Hillary didn't win, and Barack Obama didn't die. Yep. So, I mean, and this is their best, failing brutally. They just make up nonsense. So it doesn't even matter.
You would think that America would come to realize that. I just don't understand how people fall into that trap and believe it.
It is troubling, but I think sometimes comfort. Well, if there's an afterlife, then we can still be happy because our loved ones are still alive, in a sense.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, God's comfort. They're scared to death.
And they're scared to die alone, or to be alone, that their relatives are alone. But to me, I think
it's much nicer to know, or to be told that I would see my dad someday.
Yeah.
No, I won't.
But the thing is that thinking that you live after life then is a worry about what that life is going to be. It's just like, when you're alive now, you worry about what am I going to be when I'm older? Do I have enough retirement or whatever? So, I mean, but
they live for what's going to happen after they die.
Oh yeah.
They live by the Bible because they're so worried about the life after life. And us atheists, we live for the here and now.
Yeah.
We don't live.
Yeah, often they're forced to live in the. Yeah, often they're forced to live in the here and now also. and we know that. Say if they have an accident, they call the paramedic or want the paramedic to pick them up like everybody else and take them to a hospital. They don't tell the paramedic, oh man, as fast as you can, you got to get me to church. You know.
Yeah. Go to the prayer room staff.
Ready. You know, a medical prayer room staff, exactly. Or I tell people, if God's so real, where's the prayer hospitals? You know?
That's exactly it. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. See, since I became an atheist, I made all kinds of atheist friends, and they are the best I've ever met. And my best friend's actually, I met him in the atheist chat, and he lives in Alabama. And him and I talk constantly about he's like my getaway.
That's cool.
My one who understands how I feel. He told me today, he says, I think I converted to a religion. He says, there's proof that God's real. And I was like, you're scaring me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he went on to say about Lincoln was God. And he's a Lincolnite. And as long as we live by the way, Lincoln had, what was that paper, the document that he signed for America?
Emancipation, you mean?
Yeah,
Emancipation Proclamation?
Will save us. I don't know, it just goes to show that you can make a religion out of anything. You can make anything a religion. Of course, it was just joking, but it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Well, and I think that it attaches to that a lot of its identity, like which I think is not a bad thing. Identity is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to identify with stuff. It's a bad thing if those are used in a way to exclude people, because like you know, if someone says they're a Christian, a lot of people in America, oh, that's a good person. You just say, oh well, Tara's a Christian. You're like, oh really? Like somehow you've actually said something about a person.
Yeah. I can't understand how as soon as somebody mentions that I'm an atheist, I go from like friend to hellspawn. Why is that a big deal?
Yeah, I don't know. Or they say, oh, well, you seem so nice. Like somehow, because I don't believe in magic,
I'm not going to be a nice person.
Right, because you're yeah, because you're being good only is relating to the belief in magic.
Well, my cat doesn't believe in God, and she's a great cat.
Yeah, well, to me, morality is a social construct that it happens in social things no matter what. I mean, any group that gets together of people, you know, even if there was no set morality, will eventually set a morality of how you can behave in that group. So I mean, they act like somehow it only takes religion.
I was watching how Steve Harvey said about we have no, and it's like, why do you need to believe in a God to realize that murder is bad? He murdered everybody in the freaking Bible. Just don't understand it.
Well, I don't think it can be understood because it's not something that's reasonable. I mean, to say that. It's not reasonable. Plus, I always think when they say, oh, you get morality from the Bible, where? Do you have to like cherry pick it to find the morality? I mean, it's not like it's a moral book.
Yeah, exactly. Well, didn't Jesus say that you cannot be one of my disciples? You have to hate your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, and your children to follow me.
Yep, and even hate your own very life. Yeah, mm-hmm. I told that to a Christian. You go, oh, well, you're taking it out of context. No.
Context, yes.
It's Jesus's words. I'm assuming that you're saying that you know better than Jesus what he was saying, right?
Yeah. They make it into what they want to make it. It's funny how when you meet a Christian, their God is everything they explain it to be. But then when you meet a different Christian, their God's completely different. But it's the same God.
Reading the same book. Claiming the same religion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's...
But yet...
Well, it's a personal to me God.
I don't understand, like, gays. Some gays do believe in God. But
yeah.
I don't understand how their God is okay with it somehow. But the neighbor next door's God is not okay with homosexuality.
Well, I think that someone, I guess, could have a God, but it would be harder to have a Christian God or an Abrahamic God. I mean, you could believe in a God and be homosexual. You know what I'm saying? You could believe in a deity. I agree with you.
A deity.
You could believe in a deity, but believing in a Christian deity, I think, is harder to justify why you think that it's okay.
It's frustrating because you can make God anything you want to make him. He's an invention of the mind. It's whatever works for you. And I can't do that. I'm happy with the fact that when I die, that's the end of it. It's over. And I don't remember anything before I was born. That's how it's going to feel after I'm gone.
All right. Well, the difference is you'll live on in other people's memories.
Yeah, but they're not okay with that. To them, like prayer, I said pray all the time. Which I don't understand how there is a hotline to God, especially on Sunday, the busiest day, when that's supposed to be his day of rest.
Yeah, his day of not rest. Yeah, well, it's funny. Like I know one person said before, I don't understand the Bible because I'm not reading it, with the Holy Spirit. Of course, I read the Bible before I was an atheist, so I mean, I don't find that argument to be valid. But even if that's true, then you're saying that all Christians, or at least a good portion of Christians, have the Holy Spirit to help them. If they do, then why aren't they all the same? Or most of them the same? Why is there so much difference? Not a little difference, but a lot of difference. And it's like every branch has a branch, or to the Christianity. There's like 41,000 or something different denominations or sects throughout the world of Christian. It's insane.
Or people say to me, well, what's the harm in believing in God? So what's the harm? 9/11 would have even happened if it wasn't for religion.
But I think that when people say that, though, I agree with you. They say like the belief, but the belief isn't like hanging in air, attached to nothing. If it's anything, it's like a black widow spider on this large web. And we don't usually, when you're walking out in the woods, you don't usually run into the actual spider. You usually run into the web. So it's all these connected things to this ridiculous belief in God that we end up falling into all the time. It's not the main belief, it's all these things that support the belief.
I want so badly to understand Christianity. Since I was never raised in a church or like in a strict religion. Religion was barely even talked about. Oh, it was just he was real. God was definitely real, but I didn't know the story behind it, like the Bible. I didn't know anything about the Bible, and it's like people can live and believe in a God without the Bible. How?
True. So when you say you want to understand, I'm wondering, are you saying you want to know more about the psychological or sociological aspects of religion? Or are you saying that, like, the anthropological argument for religion, like why we do cultural behaviors? Or are you saying why do people think this way, as in like the philosophy of religion?
I want to understand how someone can read that Bible and think it's okay. All the death that's in that Bible, they think is okay.
You mean it makes sense or whatever? Is that what you mean by okay?
Yeah, like, it's okay because God did it. But we don't have a moral barometer. I mean, I think my 4-year-old would know that murdering is wrong. Like, that's like common sense. Like, isn't morality like you're born with it or something?
Well, yeah, they have showed that babies do express what seems to be the beginnings of moral reasoning. That they know, like, this should be done or that shouldn't be done. So I think it's at a couple months old that they're able to know that. Seem to be reasoning at some basic level, not real big, but yeah. So yeah, I do agree that we're because of evolution that because to me, when people say morality, I think that they forget morality is a thing that happens, at least to me, happens in a social context. In other words, when you act moral, it doesn't really involve you just by yourself. It involves how you affect others. How I treat people is was when morals come into place. So what moral is basically a word that we give to a correct way to navigate behavior with others. That's sort of like what morality is. So,
why does Steve Harvey think that we don't have that?
Well, because they think that that's not there innately. In other words, that they don't think that we're born because they think of this. If they reject evolution, they reject the idea that that the traits that we have been a long process. They think that, oh no, magic, that humans were empty-celled nothings, and all of a sudden, God made us.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, so they think that if you're not, it doesn't make no sense. So that I'm not saying I understand the reasoning because it doesn't really make sense to me at all. But so they're saying that if you don't connect to that understanding that there's a God, somehow you're not able to tap into something because they see us as not with these innate tendencies through nature. To me, it's just so. It's what?
Like, you have to believe in God to be a good person.
Yeah, because I don't think it's limited to the belief. It's just once again, what does the belief in God bring with it? When you you say I believe in God, you actually mean I believe in God and His rules. I believe in God and His teachings. You see what I'm saying?
That's what I want to understand. I want to understand why they think we're so bad, I guess.
Because I'm saying is that it's not a singular thing. They're not saying we reject this idea of God. They're saying that we reject not just the idea of God, but all the things that come with that.
Okay.
Because if you believe that there's a God, then you believe that something created this. If you believe something created this, they created it with a purpose.
Well, see, that was something that I decided, since don't believe in a God, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And that's where Carl Sagan came in. And I did research.
Right.
Like, why can't they just pull out the computer and look it up? Like, they're able to read just like we are. Why?
Well, that assumes that you think they want to test their beliefs. I mean, the whole aspect of faith is to believe without evidence. So, I mean, you're starting with the entire religion is based on the belief that you get proper beliefs by just trusting in God, by not thinking, by not really doing.
See, I don't know. Could I ever consider myself a Christian? Like, I never prayed. Well, besides whenever I was getting beat. But
you're asking, should I consider that you were a Christian? Is that what you're asking?
If I was a Christian, like, does that count?
Did you think you were a Christian? I don't get into this Ray Comfort kind of like somehow, you have to be this magical, thing that walks around constantly, living your entire life for Jesus, or you're not a Christian. Yeah, I find that to be nonsense. I mean,
I think 7. Well, 6 was when I started getting physically beat. 7 was when I started getting sexually beat. And that was the turning point for me. That was, why isn't God helping me? And even though my mom got out of the abusive relationship, which she became mean herself, and when I was 16, her boyfriend had a warrant out for his arrest for a DUI, and they skipped state. Like, she literally left me and my 8-year-old brother just up and left. Like, didn't say a word, just left. And there I was, 16 years old with my 8-year-old brother.
Yeah.
I called my grandma, and I'm like, I don't think she's coming back.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know how that feels too. My mom left. She left us, though, with the monster. The person she knew was abusing us and abusing her. And so she felt that she was getting abused, which I remember when I was a kid, my mom told us, though, like you said, your mom left. My mom told us she was going to leave. I just assumed, of course, she's going to take one of us kids. And I figured maybe she couldn't take us all, so us kids drew straws, privately to see who was going to have to stay with my dad. And I was so happy I didn't, choose the straw. Little did I know, it didn't even matter. My mom took none of us, so it didn't even matter. But yeah, I think it's pretty rotten to have that happen. So I really feel for you.
So I look back on my life, and I was physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused. How can I believe in a God after all that? My life is like a lifetime story. And plus with the accident, the day after I graduated college, just, how can I say there's God? Because I survived. That's why there's a God.
It's like, if a parent could have stopped the accident from happening, wouldn't that be better than letting it happen, having you suffer, and then supposedly not letting you die afterwards?
Yeah, I don't remember getting on the bike. I just remember waking up in the hospital, and I didn't know why I was there. And I lost I don't have a good short-term memory.
Yeah.
Because I had a brain bleed, and it was the part that keeps my memories. And I can remember my childhood very well, and I questioned it all the time. How can there be a God, and how can that happen? And then I know about the kids born in Africa, or the kids all over the world that are homeless and starving. How is that possible if there's a God?
It's true, especially like you say, Africa. They actually have places in Africa where the belief is way above America. I always say, well, God blesses America because we're such a Christian nation. There's nations, we're like maybe, 70% or something, if people that believe in God, not even Christian. The Christian's not that high. But let's just say the belief in God. There's places in Africa where the belief in Christian God is more than us. It's 98% Christian. I mean, we cannot touch that, like you said, and they are suffering. In fact, there's 2 places that have drought, side by side, 2 countries, and it's 97% Muslim and 98% Christian, side by side, same death rates, no difference. Which, like you said, should be proof that God doesn't care, because I'm talking about child deaths, the death, shortly after birth, not living, is the same, relatively the same in these 2 places. And if God cared about, it was real, and cared about children at all, certainly would bless their strong belief of the country. So if it doesn't, it just shows, because why it doesn't is not real.
Well, if I figure that if there was a God, we would know. there would be no fighting over. There would be no question. We would know.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's funny too is that people think like they ask me stupid questions before I do activism. This is a dumb question. They go, "All you believe is what you can see?" Well, I thought, if that's the same you believe on every question except God. I mean, what the hell?
It's mind-blowing to me. Like, I want to understand how they can see all the tragedy around them, but yet think there's a loving God. To me, that just feels like common sense. I guess you could never call me a Christian. I just answered your question. I just never thought that there was a God. I mean,
right.
I hope it's a God. I wanted there to be a God. But looking around, you can't see that there is one.
Right.
Like, there's so much tragic. Like, death. And that's why I wanted to read the Bible, because I wanted to get into a Christian mind and understand what it was all about.
Yeah, have you read the book by Michael Shermer's Believing Brain?
No.
Yeah, that'd probably be one you like, because it sounds like you're asking the why, and that'll probably explain. I don't think you can read the Bible and understand why. In fact, it probably ask you more why. Reading the Bible makes you ask, why do people do this? It's not going to tell you why. It's going to make you ask the question why.
Yeah, it did, and I have more questions now than I ever did.
Yeah, I'll send you a link for that. But so now that you have this feeling, and now that you're out as an atheist, what is it you're planning on doing in the future? Are you going to start a blog? Are you going to do videos? Are you going to do activism? Are you just going to keep living your life? I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I'd like to be an activist. I would love to do what you do.
Yeah.
I want to be out there. I want to help change.
I think it's great. So, do you know which kind you like? When you want to be an out on the street activist like I do?
Yeah. I'm an atheist, and I'm very, 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 very proud of it.
One of the best things, what I do is I go to colleges, because it's usually a place to get a lot of people, and usually also ones that think, because most people go to college have to, have ability to think, because some people in the public, that they don't really think that much. And then also it's a place that's usually safer. It's less chance on a college campus that you're going to be outright attacked than it would out on the street. So I advise you that if you're going to do something, do it so it's the most safe for you.
There's Penn State right next door.
What's that now?
Penn State's right next door.
You should go to Penn State.
And yeah.
Yeah. And
I've wondered if there's an atheist community over there.
There could be. I could try to help look for you. But I think that the thing is that it's best if you don't know to just go there and ask questions to people. Like, in other words, a lot of people will come at you and say things, and all you have to do is just ask them questions. It's just because a lot of the people will be more than happy to try to give you answers for things, because they think they're right, so they'll usually be more than happy to tell you stuff. Now, when they ask you things, just explain the stuff you know, and if you don't know, just say I don't know. I think one of the things that people are afraid of activism is I don't know all the answers. But either do I. I don't know all the answers, and I just say I don't. I'm not like I say. Well, do you know where the Big Bang? How true it is? I'm like, I'm not a cosmologist. I don't know how true it is. I mean, in that sense, and I don't really have to. Other people that are informed have said this is the most likely conclusion, and it's most reasonable for me to follow that understanding, because they have to prove it with other people that know.
See, I want to find out how I can help. How can I help change? What can I do to make other people realize how deadly it is?
Well, it's like saying, how do you get a woman who's in an abusive relationship to understand her relationship is abusive? Well, the truth is, what's that?
My mother.
Yeah, but the truth is, they already know it's abusive. So, you know what I'm saying? That's not the right question. The right question is how to get them to understand they are worth it to have something different. So, I mean, and then we also have to have compassion. If you were talking to someone in an abusive relationship, you wouldn't call them stupid, an idiot. You would be compassionate to their experience and try to reason with them. And I think that's the same issue we should do with religion. When we talk to them, we should try to be compassionate. These are people that are victims. They are abused. They don't understand. They've been misinformed. So I see it as the same kind of thing. It's hard because sometimes they're very irritating what they say, but I try to remember, but the person talking, even when they're being aggressive, they're violently defending the fear of letting this stuff go. And so I try to be, compassionate. And I think that's important too. When you do activism, don't try to win. You don't have to. It's like, how aggressive would you defend that the earth is round? Well, you certainly wouldn't get all angry about it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we know that the world is godless. We don't need to be, harsh with people, to me. I don't think that we should, cut them any slack intellectually by, allowing them to say things that are not true.
Well, you know how I told you I would turn my cousin into an atheist?
Yes.
Which really wasn't hard to do. I mean, she always believed everything I said anyway, so I wouldn't even have to explain to her why. Just tell her and she'd believe it. But her boyfriend believes in God, and for me to change him. And I don't know what I can say to change somebody.
Well, I mean, you could basically, like, say if you said God is real, right? Tell me right now, God's real, and I tell you, what is God? What's God? You say, well, God is the person in the Bible. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that what they say in the Bible is even true? Well, because things have been proven. What has been proven? I'm saying, so to me, I think start, and then if they say stuff like, and what does that mean to you, and how do you know that, and where do you get that, and how is that valid, and what is that thinking?
Well, like, my thing was, I thought maybe I should ask him why. Why do you believe in God?
But see, so why is to me a question that's basically talking about motivation. So whether something is real or not, I'm just telling you because you're asking these questions. Okay. So if I ask the why doesn't mean it's real or not real. You're just asking for my internal motivation. Now let me tell you something. Most people will fucking lie. They will make shit up when you ask the why about a lot of things. Why are you, an atheist? Why are you out as opposed to not? I mean, if I asked you right now, you'd have to think about it and make stuff up. You're talking about the motivation. That doesn't mean atheism is true or untrue. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not in other words, the why is something that it's good to understand, like you're talking about, so that you can understand the person that you're dealing with. Like, if you know a child, is screaming as a baby, right, or a baby screaming, You know the why without even being told. The why is in their behavior. They're, you know, you can check a few things and find out, oh, it's their dirty diaper. So I think that the same thing with religion. I think when you ask people why, it's better really to understand it through their behavior and what you're doing. Because no matter what they explain to you, let's just say that he says, well, I believe it because God's worked in my life. Or I believe it because of, there could be 1,000 different things. None of those mean it's true. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I try to get to, is the God true? Is the concept true? Is what you believe about it true?
So should I ask him?
Ask him what, where, when, how, not why.
Why?
Why questions are about motivation, not about truth, not about evidence. You see what I'm saying? It's better to ask what. What do you believe? What is it you're saying? You know, where do you get that information for? How do you know that that's real? You know what I'm saying? Unless you ask the why question in the frame of why do you think that, but you're still getting the motivation.
When I am in a conversation with a Christian and like they throw the Bible knowledge at me, I like the fact that I can throw it right back at them.
I agree.
I can beat them with their own game.
That is good. But the problem is sometimes you'll bring it up and it goes nowhere because you bring up the exact thing and they just say, oh, you misinterpreted it. So to me, I think that it's better to get them not believing in what they're saying is a better thing, is to undermine, because what they're trying to push is a certain thing of the religion, of the God, of the concept. So you start to make them feel like that they really can't push that concept. The concept lacks validity, lacks reducibility, and lacks, substance or warrant or justification. I always tell people, to me, I hear too many atheists get so bogged down about what a belief is. Like they'll say, well, I don't have beliefs. Everybody has beliefs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the point. Animals have beliefs. We shouldn't be worrying about the beliefs. We should say, are they justified? Are your beliefs justified? And if they say yes, say, how do you know they're justified?
Her sister is pissed off because I turned her into an atheist. She makes sly remarks, and I asked her why she believes in a God. I asked her why. And she said she believes in a God because her boyfriend, which is 50 and she was like 25, almost died of an overdose. And he lived. I said, okay, so God saved him from an overdose, but he let 1 million other people overdose. Why was he so special that God saved him and not the others?
God works in mysterious ways.
She couldn't answer it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough to make her actually think about it.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's better to ask what is the justification? How do you know that? What standard are you using to validate that? Well, the Bible's true. Really? Is it? Is it true? How can you convince me it's true? What are you going to show me that's going to convince me that's true?
And that's what I tell people. I said, I'm not close-minded. It's not that I won't believe in a God if I see evidence. If you show me evidence, I'm more than willing to look into it. And if it's true, it's true. But I need to see the evidence first.
Because that's reasonable, or you need to see the reason that would lead to the possibility that it could be true, but it has nothing of the kind.
It's like, I don't understand how the devil comes into the word atheist. But why is atheist such a taboo word?
Well, atheist is a taboo word because they see it as rejecting God, and God is they love, and so you're rejecting a loved one. So you're saying like I said, it's attached to more thing. When you're an atheist, you're also not, they consider to be not following some religion, and religion teaches you good manners and morals and teaches you authority, and you're basically saying,
don't go to church.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this justifies you. I'm trying to explain what you said.
They frustrate me.
It is frustrating, and I do agree. They double talk. They say stuff all the time that doesn't match up to their behavior or to their, what they're doing. Definitely. I mean, the fact they said they believe in prayer, and then they go to hospitals instead of the church. You just say, okay, you don't believe in prayer. Well, yes, I do. No, you're an atheist just like me. You don't really believe prayer works. I mean,
it's like, if you believe in God and you think praying helps, then whenever you are really sick or have pneumonia, why don't you just pray about it? Isn't going to a hospital questioning God?
It is.
Changing his plan?
It is. And what if you stop God's plan? What if God's plan was the person supposed to die? It's just stupid. So, do you think that you're gonna get more involved, like you said? Are you really planning on doing activism with a group, or would you do it by yourself?
I prefer a group. That's why I said I want to look into seeing if there's an atheist community over there. Well, it's a college. You think there would be?
But I was gonna say, if not, what you could do first, if you want to be involved and there's not somebody, instead of going out there like I do and hold signs, what you could do is put out flyers in the school saying that you're going to help support a Secular Student Alliance or something, and ask if anyone wants to join you in making one. You see what I'm saying? Then you can have a group of people before, if there's not already one. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that way they can help you and you can together do it.
So just stand outside and hold signs and what people ask you questions?
Well, you're talking, but I was saying first, if there's not someone to support you, I was saying what I would do first is put out flyers. Talk to people in the school and put out flyers. Because usually, like someone in the office is what I'm talking about. Talk to someone in the office. Is there a Secular Student Alliance? And if not, say you'd like to make one for the students, or with the students. What's that?
You can do that?
Yeah, you can do that. If you desire to do that, you absolutely can do that. You can go there and say you're going to... Churches do all the time. They go and say, oh, well, we would like to have a church outreach, like, okay, great, or church club or something. You just make making a secular club. You just go there and make it. Or you put out flyers and tell people that you're willing to help someone else make it or whatever. Or you're looking for students who would be interested in a secular club. Here's my email or something, and then or my Facebook or whatever, and then talk to them.
I would love to do that.
So, or you could look. There's a Secular Student Alliance, I think is what it's called, and they have a bunch of schools already, or contact numbers for people at schools. And there certainly could already be someone on the list you could contact and say, hey, I would like to do stuff. Can I get involved? Definitely. But I'll try to help you once we're done. Look at that stuff so you can check it out. But yeah, if not, then and you really want to, you can go to the college and hold signs. Well, it's really not as negative as some people think, though. I mean, once in a while you have I had someone who walked by and flicked me off. I mean, but most people are thumbs up and are happy. It's usually not that bad.
How long do you sit outside for?
About 4 hours, 3 hours, something like that. Yeah.
And people just stop and talk to you?
Oh, always. Every time. Never been ever once out there and no one talked to me.
Awesome.
And I don't scream or anything. I don't do anything. I just sit there. But people, they want to talk about what you're doing, and they want to understand. I've had a lot of people, they don't even know what an atheist is, and they come and ask, what does that mean? So it's great. And I like it. I really, people are like, oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming, out here. And, thank you for speaking out. I mean, yeah, and some people too, I've helped them even understand, that they already are an atheist. They don't even know.
See, that's it. You don't know how many people are an atheist because it is so taboo.
Yep.
There are more out there than what we really know.
Yeah, there is.
I want people to be proud to say it.
Well, that's like saying the same thing too. Why aren't everybody proud to say that they're homosexual or bisexual or whatever? Well, is it acceptable in our society? Sort of not. I mean, it's still not super acceptable. In fact,
not being like beheaded or something for it.
Well, even in America, when you're not beheaded, you can still be treated different by family. You can still have friends. You can still feel guilt and shame, that you're not good enough or something. I mean, people are real good at making sure you feel guilty if they don't like your behavior.
Yeah.
Religion maximizes that. They have a thing called shunning,
Yes, they do that in the Amish.
Yeah. They're not the only religious denomination that does that, but yes.
Really?
What's that?
They're shunning other religions?
Oh, yeah, there are. In fact, in Islam, they're called an apostate. Basically, you're marked for death or you're already dead.
I heard that word, but it was associated with Mormons.
They may use the word too. I'm not saying they don't. I mean, they may use the word too, but yeah, definitely, Jehovah's Witness shuns people. They discommunicate or whatever so does Catholics. I mean, not as extreme now as they used to be in the olden days, but yeah, I mean, there's still stuff. There's still Asian families that won't accept you if you're not their religion. I mean, it definitely is not limited to just the Amish.
See, I see a therapist on a monthly basis.
No.
Because, of all my injuries, and I'm diagnosed with PTSD, OCD, and many more. But she asked me if I believe in God, and this was like a year ago. I slowly shook my head no. It was almost like I was afraid to say it. And her reply was, well, that's normal in abused children. Almost like that was a reason to not believe in God, but there really is a God. It's just...
Yeah, I think that I think that's ridiculous. I have a degree in psychology, and I've studied some psychology stuff as it relates to religion. I don't remember reading something. I'm not saying that there couldn't be something I haven't read, but I've never read anything where people that are abused are more often atheists. What? No.
It was almost like she was saying that if I didn't have the childhood, the past I had, that I would be a Christian. Like, that's not necessarily true.
Well, it's also unethical for her to say that anyways.
So she did. She asked me if I had faith. And I said no. And she says, well, faith is different than believing in God. And I sort of closed down that conversation by changing the subject because it was uncomfortable. For some reason, it was uncomfortable for me.
Well, to me, faith is basically strong belief without evidence or contrary to evidence. So yes, that kind of thinking can be definitely done, not connected to God. But it's not a very valid form of thinking, period.
Morgan Freeman said he's a faithful man. He doesn't believe in God, but he has faith.
Oh, it's unreasonable.
I can't quite figure out what that means.
Well, I don't know what he's trying to say by that, but I mean, faith is unreasonable. Faith in the acquisition of knowledge is not worth believing in because it basically gives a justification for things without actually having any grounds to do so. In other words, if I say, I believe that you're a female, I would have to give a justification because of this and that and this. Because of your hair, because of the way you dress, because of your voice. But I could be totally wrong too. Faith is not proof of anything. Faith, people say,
Faith,
I believe in God because of faith. Faith is offered as the justification in the place of actual evidence.
it's just, God is everywhere I look. And I really feel outnumbered.
Well, you are.
I know.
I mean, that's not an untruth. We are outnumbered by believers. That's why I think it's ridiculous when people say we don't need to say the word atheism because we don't need the word. In a really good logical world, yeah, we wouldn't need the word atheism, this thought of or belief in theism.
Yeah, because everybody would believe the same thing or not believe.
Everybody would not start with the belief of theism, which is an added belief that doesn't come through nature. Nature. It's not like we're born and we believe in God. We're taught to believe in God. Yes. So I agree that it's not necessary, but to say it's not necessary in this culture where we're outnumbered, that's ridiculous to me. Of course it matters. It matters for solidarity. It matters to make a difference.
So what do you think I should say? Say one of my girlfriends from high school puts up a Facebook status about her child being really sick.
Uh-huh.
Please pray for him.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I'm sorry, but everybody is like, I'm praying for you, but I don't really want to say that.
Are you asking me what's right for you, or are you saying what would I do?
What would you do?
What I do in general is I do not respond very often to other people's posts. Especially if they say things that I don't really agree with. I don't really get into. I feel other people have the right to have ridiculous ideas, and I don't go out of my way on people's posts. Now, when I say something and someone comments on mine, then I usually do. Because that's why I leave it open to them. I try not to go after the other people, but I say what I have to say. I don't change my beliefs at all. I say what I have to say, and then they usually come to me and try to say stuff. So,
see, I don't want to say anything about them being up for prayer. I just want to say, I'm sorry. I hope it gets better. But
so that's all I would say though. But you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't turn everything into a battle. I mean, it's to me, it's not like we're waging a war against them. To me, it's just unreasonable. So I would just be reasonable. If it was my friend and I wanted to say I cared, I would just say I cared. It doesn't. They're just talking nonsense, anyways. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't feel that we should be like on a crusade. Like for me personally, I'm not saying other people that do. I'm not saying it's wrong, but for me, I don't think we should be on a crusade because my point is not stopping people from every moment of their thinking about God. It's basically to compassionately, get to people that this idea that you have is a wrong map of the world. And so you're trying to navigate the real world with something that is not real. We need to just have a real map, a real thing. They don't realize the consequences for this fake belief means things like look at family relationships. There's no reason you should have a bad relationship, but you do because of this fake thing that's in the way. It hurts stuff. It makes people not get medical. It makes people shame, their family members, their children. I mean, it's bad. It causes a lot of problems. It justifies hatred. Just look at the fact that it justifies hating gays. Like the fact that it justifies that somehow women are less than. It's not a positive idea. It's not. They try to make it like this God issue, but really it's all this other stuff. It's not like, it's like saying you believe in Superman. Well, to believe in Superman is not just to believe a person. It's to believe a person with all these powers, and as a person with all these powers does stuff. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. Is it's not just a belief in a deity, like some kind of thing that's, like if I said, is France there? Does France exist in the world? You say yes. Well, if you don't live in France, it may not have any relation to you at all. So that's not what they're talking about. They're asking about you're inside of your body. It's like saying, do you have a heart? You know, when... Go ahead.
People ask me if I have a soul.
Yeah.
And
just think of this. The soul is this. I always tell people, the concept of soul is ridiculous. All you have to do is, if evolution is true, which it is, then tell me when magic entered evolution to make a soul. I mean, there is none. And then prove how we know that there was magic and when it happened, why it happened. I mean, just think, we're an evolved species. So were the Neanderthals, you know, and the Soviets, you know, did they have souls? I mean, do the ones before that, did they have souls? You know, how about Homo erectus? Was Homo erectus, did that have a soul or no soul? And tell me why. Why is that justified? There's no naturalistic reason to think of soul.
I worked in a nursing home for 5 years, and my mother worked there too, but she wasn't a nurse. She was a cleaner, a housemaid or something.
Uh-huh.
And we were standing there talking, and a lady passed away right in front of us. And my mom swears up and down that she's seen her soul leave her body.
Well, but people think a lot of weird things. I mean, that's not. People think they see the Mother Teresa. People think they see Krishna, or you know, Zeus. I mean, people think they see Elvis. I mean, people see a lot of, you know, or believe they see a lot of nonsense.
You think maybe she's seen it because she wanted to see it?
Well, did she really see it? I don't know. Did she see something? I mean, I know she didn't see no magical soul from the person's body. Did she think she saw something else? I've seen before where people see like dust particles, you know, and they're like, "That's the soul." Yeah. Why do you know that? How could you possibly justify that belief?
But I think she's seen it because she wanted to see it, because that's...
So ask questions. Ask questions. Oh, and what did you see? So she says she saw it. What did you see? Well, I saw the person.
She said like a blue wave that you could barely see. It was just...
Okay, so... But
explanation.
What I'm saying is, okay, you saw a blue wave. How do you know the blue wave you saw? The only explanation is a soul. Are you sure? Could you be wrong? Could you be wrong that it wasn't a soul? Maybe what you saw was something else. What if you saw a demon? I'm not saying demons are real, but I'm just saying, how can you verify that it's what you say it is? How do you know? Even if you saw something you thought was a blue something, that doesn't mean that was the soul. It could have been anything.
See, my mom would say, I know it because I've seen it.
But if she saw a blue wave, it's not seeing the person's face. You don't know that that's the person.
And she would say, I know it was a soul because I just know. I get nowhere with her. Nowhere.
But what I'm trying to say is you get her to understand that she's talking from a place of nowhere. By keep questioning, what did you see? Explain it exactly. How does that relate? How are you sure the only explanation is soul? And if you think there's a soul, why do you think that? How do you know that? Get her. The whole point I'm saying is get her to realize that what she's so sure about, maybe he's not so sure. You see what I'm saying? As a way of introducing doubt. What's that?
Get her to question it herself.
Yeah, get her to well, even if she doesn't question it, get her to realize it should be questioned. Is what I'm saying. You may not get people to question, but you get them to start worrying that maybe it should be questioned. They may not even question, but you build the thing of, because you show them how to think. You teach them that when things are offered, you ask questions and you ask for justification, and then how someone knows that it's justified, and how does someone prove that. You start showing that everything should be under this type of thinking. It's basically, to me, is what's called methodological skepticism, which basically says that all beliefs should be held to a scrutiny of a process to find out what's true from what's false. And to me, that is a real important thing that is stronger. Or another way of thing you can do is critical thinking, getting people to think critically, to where you challenge things, you question things, you wonder, you want more information. So do that with her. When someone says a thing, ask a bunch of questions. Make them start realizing that things that you say have to have justification. You can't just say wild things out of nowhere.
What if they get mad about it? Because some people do get mad at questioning them.
Okay, so if they get mad, say, I can understand why you're getting mad. I mean, unless you want to go into a confrontation with them, it's just better to say, wow, okay, I see that, it's making you upset. Wasn't trying to do that, I mean, like I said, to me, I think we are fighting a war, but we can't act like we're at battle. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of what's that?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I think when we interact with them, we need to be, like I said, to me, at least, this is my style, is to be compassionate. Hard on ideas and soft on people. Because the ultimate goal for me is not to just force people to think like me. It's just because I care and I want people to start thinking. Because this lack of thinking is very harmful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we're about done. It's been a while. The longest interviews in a while. But it's fun.
Well, I think I'm questioning you more than you're questioning me.
Well, but that's fine. I mean, I don't have I don't have a exact thing, to what the interview is supposed to be. So it's fine. I mean, I want to answer your questions. I mean, they're good questions. What's that?
I'm curious. Like I'm on the hunt for information.
And really, I think that's what I think the best thing, like you said, what can you do? If you can just get people to see the need, the value, the quality that you receive when you're questioned and when you're curious, I think that it will help people to start to be more, curious and question. Like you said about Carl Sagan, I think he did a great job of that. I think showing people stuff that's amazing and explaining it, it gets people curious. So you're doing good.
Yeah. That's kind of what I want to do. Like I feel like I need to educate people.
People seriously need some education. That is no lie.
But it's like I need to educate myself though before I go and tell other people.
I totally agree. You do need to, because, but I also think that don't let that, or anybody else listening, don't let that be the only thing that stops you. Just think you're defending the truth. I mean, you're defending the simple thing of nature as it really is. I mean, all the proof is on our side. So, I mean, the fact that you go out there and you don't know, if you didn't know every answer, so what? There's no loss. All you're defending is natural reality. And all you need to do is basically keep putting it back on other people. They're the ones saying that, see, because this is what you need to see, atheists and you and me, we are basically just saying that nature is real. And that's it. We don't add anything. So we're not doing anything. We don't have anything to explain. It's just the natural world. We haven't done anything to it. Now, religious people, they take and they add stuff to the, to the natural world. They say stuff that's not true is true. And so they should be questioned because they're the ones that are adding. So if they say, well, the atheist needs to answer all these questions, all you'd say is no, actually I don't. Actually, I don't even have to answer nothing. All I'm saying, what's that?
It's on them. The burden of proof is on them, right?
Correct, because they're making not only making a claim, because you're talking about philosophy, making the claim, but also they're adding to nature. We're not. We don't have to explain nothing. If I say you'll explain it, go to science, go read a book. I don't have to explain nothing. In other words, I'm not inventing some new thing. All an atheist is doing is saying the natural world as we see it. That's it. I mean, it's in a sense, it's almost not even a claim. It's just saying I believe what's around me. What they're saying, see, that's what we need to get. They're adding stuff to nature, so then they need to explain, not us.
Mhm.
You understand? So
Yeah. Oh.
yeah. So, anyways, it's been good talking to you, and I'm gonna go ahead and go. But you can ask more questions. I will send you some of this stuff. Keep being curious and inspire others to be curious. That's the way to go.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I was so excited about this.
Well, I'm glad you did a wonderful job. So.
Well, thank you.